Hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing a rundown of the continuities and changes in the Industrial Age. This was made by Melissa Chan, Jimena Parra, and me, Jacob Cardenas. Now, arguably the biggest change made by the Industrial Revolution was the way it transformed the production and consumption of goods around the world. Countries around the world that participated in the industrialized age saw transformations in their economies as a result. New methods of industrial production also spread to these various countries. Because methods of industrial production were proving to be more effective than skilled artisan work that took lots of time, skilled artisan work faded as the availability of assembly line factory workers came to fruition. Now we're going to discuss the uses and sources of raw materials. Countries that were already specialized in producing raw materials as they had in previous eras continue to do so, only this time they help to aid in industrial processes. These material producing countries would become essential to industrialization. To add to that, sources of untapped raw materials became available as new inventions allowed them to be transported, such as the steamboat and railroad. What helped to aid the movement of materials was not just transportation inventions, but also communication inventions such as the telegraph. Inventions such as the telegraph allowed for negotiations and messages to be relayed over long distances, saving costly transportations for the sake of communication. And next, we're going to discuss Western Europe's role in the economic aspect of the Industrial Age. Western Europe had quite a leadership role in the Industrial Age, and this was because of the many advantages they possessed. They possessed access to an abundance of resources, trade routes, and financial capital. The Industrial Revolution actually changed the way their economy functioned, from mercantilism to capitalism. The person who influenced this system of capitalism was none other than philosopher and political economist Adam Smith. He believed that the private pursuit of profit was the most beneficial way towards general prosperity.
The Industrial Revolution also brought big social changes to citizens. As the Industrial Revolution spread, so did the need for factory workers. Due to this, the industrial working class emerged. Many people left the rural life and transitioned to living in urban areas. This, of course, led to cities being extremely crowded, and this created a lot of pollution. Workers during this era also had to work long shifts for very little pay. As a result, labor unions were formed to improve working conditions and obtain a pay raise. Moving on, the Industrial Revolution also brought changes to social classes, especially the middle class. More jobs such as middle management of factories, banks, insurance companies, and others started to be considered part of the middle class. There was also changes to the upper class. Wealthiness now came from investments rather than taking over land. These capitalists soon made up the highest of the upper class in industrial societies. Time period, the role of women changed drastically. In an agricultural economy, women were supported by their husband's income. With the Industrial Revolution spreading, this changed. Women started to work in textile factories to support their families. Due to this, women's income became as important as that of a man's. Despite the importance of female labor, women were often paid less than men for the same work and denied high-wage jobs.
Now moving forward, we are looking at political continuities and changes. During the Enlightenment era, people who experienced the Industrial Revolution began to develop new political concepts. They expressed their desire to use their natural rights, such as the right to petition, protest, and rebel against their government, which were caused by reasons such as nationalism and the want for people to choose their own government. The majority of these protests were connected to the middle and working class who advocated for higher wages and the right to vote. This also induced people in multiple European countries to give rise to uprisings and demanded their rights to be recognized by the government in 1848, also known as the Revolutions of 1848. As for the image on the right, we have the French Revolution by Henry Felix, where Lamartine, a French writer, poet, and politician, rejects the red flag in front of the town hall of Paris. This was just one of the many uprisings, as mentioned before, to occur in 1848. As the number of the wealthy capitalists and middle class expanded, the desire for more political involvement increased. This induced the voting rights for men from multiple different classes in Western industrial countries. Women, on the other hand, were not allowed to vote till the 20th century. A notable factor from the reforms would be the influence of the middle class. As the middle class grew both in size and economically, democracy came to be, whereas where it was small, dictatorship remained. The political cartoon shows the Reform Act of 1867 in Great Britain. In this cartoon, Uncle Sam wants the British working men to continue to persevere for their rights to vote under the proposed Reform Bill of 1867. Lastly, we are taking a look at protection for workers. The ideas of Reformation began to spread in many Western countries. Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, social reforms began to spread globally with concepts such as accident compensation insurance, unemployment insurance, and old age pensions. There were also political parties that represented working class who advocated for minimum wages, shorter workdays, paid sick and holiday leave, health and unemployment insurance, and better working conditions. The image on the right is a painting of Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, who advocated for the social reforms mentioned before.
Now we're going to look into the impacts and effects of the industrial age. As people moved to more urban areas due to the desire for factory labor, the overall populations of nations increased drastically. Living standards within urban areas increased with the given productivity, but this came at a cost of depleted natural resources.
With the increased use of natural resources, also came the increased use of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels had a large negative impact environment-wise, as it caused air and water pollution. Exploitation was common towards the working class, as well as inhumane conditions within the factories. Contagious diseases were the result of such factors, which ended up taking many workers' lives. However, women's voices were able to be voiced louder than before, which can be seen in women's suffrage, a right passed by Congress in 1920 that allowed women to vote.